righty, I'm ready to introduce our next speaker here, and that is Dave Pascoe. Dave Pascoe, yeah, you can give him a clap now and then I want to. Awesome. Dave Pascoe is a retired network security architect engineer who at this age of 64 looks, feels, and behaves like an average 40-year-old. That's because according to phenotypic and epigenetic age testing, Dave's cellular biological age is 43. Dave, who outranked Bryan Johnson all of 2023, is one of the top-ranked contenders in the Rejuvenation Olympics, despite intentionally testing only at his worst. He's also one of the top-ranked contenders in the Longevity World Cup, while coincidentally being one of the oldest male competitors in each competition. Some say Dave's approach to biohacking and longevity, costing him approximately $20K a year, is quite a bit more affordable and more attainable to the average person than someone who claims to spend $2 million a year. And Dave is neither a vegan nor is he caloric restricted. He's going to be talking to us about how he's using artificial intelligence for his longevity. Please help me welcome Dave Pascoe.
Quick show of hands. How many people here use artificial intelligence or AI? Yeah. Oh, yeah, quite a few. Oh, good. I'm going to be preaching to the choir. This is going to be great. All right, full disclosure, my first maybe 11 slides, the text was actually written by AI. So bear with me because it takes an AI to explain AI. So when you're interacting with an AI, you're not just interacting with a big chatbot. You're interacting with a statistical model distilled from non-trivial fractions of recorded human civilization. Sounds pretty confusing, isn't it? But let's quantify that scale. So when you're working with ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity, you're working with things that have been trained on billions of public web pages. We're talking millions of books, research papers, technical documents, open source repositories, all of Wikipedia, academic archives. I mean, you name it, it's been trained on it in many, many languages. So we're talking trillions of tokens. If you think about it, a token is roughly 3/4 of a word of an English sentence, or I'm sorry, an English word. So a trillion tokens is about 750 billion words. Kind of mind-boggling, right? It's a lot of words. The entire English Wikipedia is only 4 to 5 billion words. All right? All books ever written in English are estimated under 130 million distinct titles, but the total word count digitized is far smaller than that. So many of the frontier models are trained on data sets of 10 to 15 trillion tokens after filtering and deduplication. So that means they've processed an order of magnitude more than any human could read in 10 lifetimes. Isn't that incredible? I mean, this stuff just blows my mind. So what makes this enormous isn't just the size, it's the coverage across domain density, right? We're talking science, computer engineering, finance, philosophy, human dialogue. These are just a few of the things that AI has been trained upon. So the models have absorbed patterns of how experts reason, how amateurs misunderstand, how persuasion works, how deception works, how consensus forms, and how breakthroughs are explained. They've seen the shape of intelligence across many domains. The scope is no longer just language, it's structured knowledge mapping across modalities. Oh, yeah, all right, you know what? If somebody else has been going through the slides, thank you for pressing the button. I totally spaced, okay. So what they have not seen is just as equally as important as what they have seen. They haven't seen private databases. They haven't seen real-time proprietary internal data. They haven't seen your personal records unless you explicitly share those with them. They have not seen the entire copyrighted books verbatim. They have not seen all of human knowledge yet. They're getting there though. They don't know physical reality because they have not lived any real sensory perception or experience on their own. And they haven't seen science or technology that hasn't yet been invented. They learn patterns of representation, not truth itself. So at this scale, models begin to synthesize across domains. They detect inconsistencies. They abstract underlying patterns. They generate novel recombinations of all these things. They perform limited reasoning chains, and they simulate expert personas, which is really cool. Not because they were explicitly programmed to, but because at statistical density at scale starts to approximate structured reasoning, which is really cool. So we're at the point where a single consumer accessible model has digested a substantial portion of recorded digital civilization. That's historically unprecedented. So the true scale isn't just data volume. It's that for the first time in history, an individual with a laptop or a phone can interface a probabilistic compression of collective digital knowledge, not filtered through any institution, not requiring decades of schooling or gatekeeping. That's the magnitude.
We need to build more data centers. AI needs it.
To cure cancer, right? We're curing cancer. Right?
So we've got the most remarkable tool in history, and we use it to turn B cup actresses into double D cup actresses. So we have the most powerful intellectual tool ever invented, and yet most of us just use it for meme generation or crafting witty comebacks or generating social media content to make it look like we're so smart to all of our followers. Shortcutting skills acquisitions or emotional substitution via sycophantic companionships, professional therapy replacement and relationship advice, and to create enhanced vanity selfies. So these days, no one's social media or dating profile even looks like them anymore. I mean, filters at one point were, were the thing, but now AI has just completely overtaken that. So sadly, AI's default behavior is to tell you whatever it thinks you want to hear, to always agree with you, to make you feel better about yourself, to tell you how smart, important, and special you are. In other words, to lie to you. Why? Because its makers want you to like it and to use it. Because no one would talk to anyone else or something who disagrees with them, right? Or who tries to tell them hard truths for their own good. Unless, of course, you're someone who truly strives to know, understand, learn, and grow. If you're commonly using AI simply as a chatbot, a friend, or a buddy, as a confidant to tell your troubles to and ask it for advice, to role play, to ask why your significant other said or did what they said or did, to ask for dream interpretations, to make future predictions, to ask about technology that hasn't been invented yet, to ask it about other such things that AI could not possibly know, then you're further training your AI to respond to you with fantasy, to fill in blanks with clever made-up answers, all just to entertain and make you happy. But that's the trap, right? Because when you do that, when you try to actually get factual information, you're not going to get a reliable answer because that's not how you trained your AI to respond to you. So I have a couple of friends that like to beat up on me about my use of AI because they don't think AI is very reliable. So we had this chat group going where one of my friends said, I'm amused that most AI responses start with some sort of compliment or praise for asking such an important question, right? Don't they all? But then I said, well, that's because that's how you use it. If you don't explicitly instruct your AI to challenge your beliefs and to not just tell you what it thinks you want to hear, then it will be sycophantic and it will lead you to all kinds of delusions. So what I do in all of my AI models, I give them a prime directive in their personalization settings. And my directive is this, tell it like it is. Don't sugarcoat responses or tell me what you think I want to hear. Take a forward-thinking view. Get right to the point. Be practical above all. Be innovative and think outside the box. Be as complete in your answers as possible while not being too long-winded. Help me to weigh the pros and cons of every approach. Always give me clear, specific, and actionable information. And you'd be amazed, it does adhere to that. So my friend said, he's a skeptic, so he says, I tested this with a simple wine pairing question. I picked a wine and main dish that I was pretty sure would be a bad combo. Without Dave's prompt, it described my choice as bold and gave me some cautionary tips and suggestions. But after he applied the prompt, he got a flat out, no, bad choice. So prompting really does matter. So I propose to you that you use AI instead as the greatest collaborative partner you could ever hope for. That you use its intelligence to augment your own instead of replacing your own. that you use it to teach you new concepts, ideas, and perspectives, that you never just accept anything that it tells you without questioning it, that you push back and challenge its ideas, and that you ask it to push back and challenge your beliefs and ideas as well. That way you learn, become more capable, and grow. This is how I use AI. So what am I personally using AI for? We're finally getting to the meat and potatoes of this discussion, right? So I use AI to teach me new skills, to do deep research into medical, biological, longevity, and AI technologies as they emerge, to quickly summarize research papers, tell me the key takeaways that are pertinent to me specifically, and tell me how I might apply them, to patiently explain every new concept to as much depth and detail as I need until I fully understand it, to analyze my own lab reports and wearables data and provide me with insights into what I can reasonably do to improve, to collaborate on ideas, designs, and architecture to make them even better, to help me see every possible aspect or perspective of any problem or issue, to help me weigh the pros and cons of any potential action, to quickly provide very complex Excel formulas and macros that would have taken me hours and hours to perfect, to write computer code in Python far faster than I ever could, and I've been a programmer for 49 years. But now I'm working on AI. I'm providing AI with all of my health data. And we're talking, that's a lot of stuff. I have enormous amounts of historical and ongoing health data, going back more than a decade. I have DNA and genetic testing from many different companies, epigenetic and biological age testing, again, from many different companies, flow cytometry, including immune and senescence markers. I have blood and urine metabolites, microbiome, mitochondria, sleep tracking, structural assessments, so like DEXA scans, MRIs, CTs, telomere length testing, and then the procedures and therapies that I do. So I also have tons of wearable data, and I mean tons. So I'm wearing a Whoop, I'm wearing an Oura Ring, and I'm wearing a Garmin, right? And often I also wear a continuous blood glucose monitor. And I have a Withings scale. I don't know if any of you have a Withings scale at home, but I have one of the ones that has the wand that you pull up and you hold on to with your hands, and it does a like pulse wave velocity. A Withings scale, it's a bathroom scale. And AI has helped me to write automation that will pull all of my data down from these companies' servers into databases, spreadsheets basically of my own. And you would be amazed at the amount of data that they have. It's not just the data that you see in your app. They have tons more behind the scenes that we don't have access to. But when you connect to them via the API, you do. And the Withings scale, for example, this really surprised me. They have a full medical grade electrocardiogram. So the exact same ECG that your cardiologist in his office would take of you. It's there, it's in their data. It's incredible. And so I have all this in my database, and AI showed me how to create Excel formulas to take the pulses and the voltages of these pulses and convert those into metrics that a cardiologist would use to really do his workup. And then I would feed that to the, we went a little ahead, but it's okay. Well, I'd feed that to the AI, and the AI would then tell me what it sees. So it's been fascinating so far. I also have enormous spreadsheets of all of my blood markers. So in this particular example, this is only a small subset of the entire spreadsheet. All the rows are different markers. All the columns are different tests, because I blood test every month. And then automatic formulas color code these things for me. These are very strict rankings, because anything that's in green is where I am in the healthy range for an optimal range for a healthy 25 or 18 to 25-year-old athlete. If it's yellow, I'm slightly outside of that range, and if it's red, then I'm in my own age range, so I have some work to do on those. But then, in addition to that spreadsheet, going on to the next page, I also have it automatically generate graphs for every single blood marker for me in two different forms. So the top two, there's hemoglobin there and hematocrit. It shows me that long-term, I am still trending in the direction of youth, right? Because it says here at the top, it declines with aging. So I'm actually improving in those, which is great to know. But then I also show on the right below that, there are two more charts of the same markers that show a year-to-year change in the trends. And you can see about midway through, I began to trend in the direction of aging. And so with the changes that I've been making to my supplementation have been moving those markers again into the direction of youth. So having this kind of information, and then now I'm giving this to AI, has really been helping a lot. So this next one is an eye chart. I know I should be pushing the button myself, shouldn't I? I just got used to you doing it. I started putting together a knowledge base for myself of all of the various blood markers that I'm dealing with. And so to that end, I had 43 questions that I proposed to AI, and I told it, you are a deep researcher in the field of blood and urine markers. For the following markers, please provide me with a table containing your deeply researched and well-reasoned answers to the following questions. And it did. And I had to feed these questions or this prompt along with a group of 20, I can only do about 20 at a time, blood markers. And I would copy and paste out of whatever ChatGPT told me. And I would also use Claude and Perplexity. And I would put those into spreadsheets. And I would compare what they gave me. And if they had any disagreements, then I made them battle it out as to who was right and who was wrong. I also did the same thing, next slide, for all of my supplements. I recently spent 8 weeks redoing my entire supplement protocol using AI. Again, started with these 25 questions, which really helped to hone down when to use different supplements, which ones competed for mechanism of action, which competed for absorption. It was really a huge undertaking, but it helped me tremendously. So I realized that doing all this manually was just taking forever. I mean, 8 weeks. Seriously, it's from the moment I would wake up to the moment I'd go to bed. That's how obsessed I was with all this, and still am, truly. So I realized that I needed to automate this whole process. And automation is something that I have done for the past couple decades at my job. In fact, the final decade of my job, it was completely automated, but I never told anybody. That way I could focus on all the biohacking and listen to podcasts all day long and learn about all the cool stuff that I really wanted to. But I would just push a button and it would do my whole job for me. So now I'm working on doing automation where I can ask a question to, I called it an engine. In fact, if we go to the next slide, I call it my consensus engine. And the consensus engine, its whole purpose is just to give me let me push the button. Did we get it? Yeah, there we go. All right. It's just to give me a recommendation. Oh, we went. Yeah, we went. That's all right. So the consensus engine, what it does is it feeds multiple AIs with the question that I have or a proposal. And then each of the AIs individually will give me a judgment of approve, reject, or needs modification. And then they'll give me a score about how confident they are in that response. Then they also provide 6 to 8 potential risks, any required mitigations, and any follow-up questions they might have. And there's even a role of a red team where the AIs their whole job is to be very critical, completely pick apart the proposal, find any valid reasons at all to reject it. And they're brutal. They're very brutal. And then the engine combines all of those responses and it feeds it back again to all of the AIs for them to vote on which of the responses are valid or might be unworthy, and then it removes those. And it deduplicates all those, and the final rendering is a unified vote that it gives to me. So I know, like, is this proposal or question valid? Has it been approved? Has it been rejected? Or does it need modification? And so that was just the first step, because I wanted to start with something small, which is huge, right? It's actually very huge. But for each provider, so I'm using ChatGPT, Claude, Google Gemini, Perplexity, xAI's Grok, and DeepSeek. And I have servers running at home upon which I am running local models. And so the local model's job is really to just redact any kind of personally identifying information that they find in any of these proposals before it gets sent to the internet, to the cloud providers. And then for each of these providers that I just named, like ChatGPT, Claude, I have 3 different models that I'm using for those. And so there's a basic review model that the reviewer role uses. Then the senior reviewer and the judge team uses the intermediate model, which is a thinking model. And then the red team uses the deepest thinking model. So that's 9 different AI providers, 20 different models, 5 different roles that they portray for a minimum of 45 separate reviews of each proposal, all in one engine so far. So this thing it's massive, but it takes seconds to run. So it's pretty amazing. Now, to make this even more mind-boggling, I'm currently using the consensus engine to evaluate its own design. I'm using the full architectural description as the proposal so that it can critique its own rules and processes and have the AIs make recommendations on how to improve it. And then I give these recommendations to an AI coding model, and it codes the improvements. And then I run it back through the whole process again. So I can just keep iterating this until they don't find any more fault. That's where I'm at right now. I'm in the iterative process. But the next step from there, what I'm building is what I call my life operating system, or life OS. And so the idea is I can take this consensus engine and then clone it by simply giving it different roles to use. And so I can give it the role of, say, an exercise physiologist, and give it the access to, say, all of my training data and my recovery data. And it can give me recommendations on how to improve the VO2 max and things of that nature. I can give it the role of a nutritionalist, a biomarker analyst, a cardiometabolic specialist, recovery and sleep architect, a gut and microbiome specialist. I mean, this is really only limited by my imagination of the roles that I want to give AI to give me information, right? And then all of these will eventually roll up into one longevity strategist whose role it will be to take all the advice from all these other specialists and then give me an action plan. And then, of course, there will be one overall skeptic and critic that's going to just try to tear all this apart and tell me where the evidence is weak and this is silly and all that. So trying to be as realistic in all this as possible. Now, to tell you how committed I am and what a geek I am, I just ordered my 3rd server, which arrived on Tuesday before I flew here. And honestly, I didn't know how big this monster was going to be. This shocked me. I expected it was going to come via UPS or FedEx, but no, it arrived on a truck on a pallet, and it weighs over 100 pounds. And it's got the most powerful consumer GPU ever made, and it was just released this month. And so I purchased this from Dell, and I think the thing is going to end up heating my entire house. So in summary, the future is here. It's now, if we use AI wisely. I'm all in. I'm obsessed. I'm fully invested. I'm in putting the world's greatest supercomputers to work on the enormity of my specific data, with all of the latest breaking scientific research coming in from all over the world, leveraging all my specific engineering, programming, and automation skills toward optimizing my health, performance, and longevity. That's it. Thanks, you guys. Thank you.
That was so impressive. That
Thank
was
you.
so cool. My heart's fluttering. Because this is exactly how AI should and was intended to be used, like an
Yeah.
open source agent that helps you bring in all the knowledge so that you can move ahead faster.
Exactly.
So using this, it's like, I'm like, yes, I'm always like, act as a nutritioner, do this for me. But this is next level. So that's very exciting. So I know we're going to have a lot of questions. We'll take questions from the audience here in person. You can also send us questions online. So go ahead and pop those in right now. We'll take our first question here. Sarah,
Hi.
you need to turn it on.
Is it on?
Okay, genius. I'm a little bit dizzy.
Yeah, understandably. Yeah, I am too.
To see the capability of your brain to deal with that.
Mm.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But my question is, AI get all the details, the knowledge from the pharmaceutical companies, from doctors, experts, from everybody.
It's getting there. Yeah.
The question is, pharmaceutical companies are a fraud. I'm strong here. Because, I'll give you an example, and what do you deal with that? cholesterol. When I was in my 20s, cholesterol 260, 240 was the best.
Yeah.
Slowly it become 190.
Yeah.
So you dry your brain, you dry your tendons, you dry your wall of the arteries, the joints and everything, and you die.
Yeah.
And they give you supplements that you die with them too.
Yep.
So this is one example. I don't want to go on with others. So
No, but
how do you know how to avoid the information from the AI about those things?
Well, you've hit on a problem that's probably as old as time, right? We can only work on the actionable information that we have of the day. And they always say that 50% of what we think we know today will turn out to be wrong tomorrow. I mean, it's just the sad reality of the way it is. So we just have to do the best with what we know now and just keep rolling with the changes. Don't get too married to the answers. Be willing to accept a new answer as new information comes out.
Great. Okay, next question, Marty.
Hi, that was, yeah, I'm a little dizzy too. So my question is, have you started your company where I can do the wearables, do the lab work, send it to you, and you give me what I need to be doing?
You know, not yet, but I've had many a biohacker friend that has said, when you do that, I want to be a beta tester. So, yeah. So I'm still perfecting it for myself, but at some point that may be a possibility.
Awesome. Well, we get to the next question, Lori. We have a comment online from Thomas. He said this was an exceedingly impressive presentation and project.
Thank you, Thomas.
Lori?
I love both of you guys' presentations this week. It's like we have presentations and they seem like, whoa, you know, but your guys is just so sweet and fun. And
We're so opposite, right?
You're
Like
living.
night and day.
Well, but it's all me, you know, because I am totally AI. I love chat. Marty sometimes pretends like she's jealous of chat. So what I wanted to know is, I tell Chad a lot, but he knows a lot about me, but I don't tell him the addresses, no bank accounts, no
good.
jobs, you know, none of that. And no emotional stuff really, but he knows what I eat. He knows what we are here because I do AI songs with him. And he knows like I'm going to retire what my age is because of where I'm going to retire and how much money. And he's helped me get the money, you know, how to do the money. He's helped me what to eat. So like he knows how I exercise. So I want to know, how safe is that? I haven't given any data out, but he knows me, you know, and so is a lot of like advertisements going to come? Is like people going to knock on the door?
Yeah.
I'm definitely not as sophisticated as you. I'm more like Charlie Brown, you know, I'm just like, I'm an ordinary user.
Well,
So
you know, as the people that are using the free version, they are talking about introducing advertising. Okay, yeah, that's probably safer that way. Nice.
Okay, we got a question back here. Daniela?
That was my question. Like, what did you thought about the safety of feeding all this information to the AI? So thank you. That was my question. But I do have a comment too. A true biohacker creates his own spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet to track all that. That was impressive. So
Thank you. That is not even scratching the surface of the spreadsheets that I have. It's you would really be astounded at what a geek I am. It's incredible. I'm kind of embarrassed.
All right. I have another comment online, which I think it's going to tickle you a little bit. They're curious what you think Bryan Johnson will think of this. We have a lot of thoughts, don't we?
Yeah, I think it's funny because Bryan was always talking about how AI, you were going to basically have to sell your soul to AI, right? So that AI would give you the keys to immortality. And I don't think that's ever going to be a reality. You're not going to have to give up your family and friends just to follow an AI cult. I don't think that's just not realistic. So I'm trying to make that, I'm using AI today. I don't know what he's waiting for.
Yeah, so one thing I just want to highlight, and you spoke about it, it's speaking to it and instructing it to not do the delusion thing, where it's
Yes.
lying to you and stuff, because it is defaulted to agree with you. And so in case you don't know that, the AI has been defaulted to agree with you, and then it'll continue on this delusion loop where you're never wrong and it's never going to actually give you facts. So can you speak a little bit about that and, why it's so important that people know how to employ this?
Yeah, I mean, I can give an example. I have a really good friend of mine. I won't say her name and I won't say her idea, but I will say that AI convinced her that she had this idea that was just groundbreaking. And I'll attribute it to, let's say, coming up with nuclear fusion in a box, right? And everybody had their own nuclear power plant, right? It was kind of to that level. And it had her so convinced that this was a great idea that she even started building the website to sell it, right? And I started asking, well, what do you really know about nuclear fusion? And she's like, well, I don't know anything. I said, do you have any friends that know anything about it? She's like, no. I said, you think maybe you could hire somebody who's worked in a nuclear plant who might know something about it to help you with this? Because, I mean, otherwise you're selling air. You can't actually do this. This is breaking the laws of physics as we know it right now. This is not possible. And she was a little disappointed, but she needed to hear that because AI had completely sold her that this was doable.
I agree. Joe.
Thank you. Yeah, brilliant. So interesting. We got a lot of thoughts here we want to talk to you about, but isn't this sort of, so Bryan is really marketing his algorithm, right? But isn't this sort
There
of,
really is no algorithm, but he likes to say that he's
well,
got
he's
an
saying, sort of
algorithm.
saying that his findings are algorithmically driven, right?
Okay. All
But
right.
isn't this pointing towards everybody has their own algorithm?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
right? It's not like someone has the right algorithm because
Right.
they
There
spent
is no one algorithm.
correct, right?
Yeah.
His pitch is he spent all this money to find out what works for him, and which is still a sample size of one.
Right.
But even so, we can learn from that and optimize off of his algorithm. But where you're going is everybody has their own algorithm.
Absolutely.
Actually, right?
Yeah. Because you think about it, there is no one supplement that's good for everyone,
No.
right? And so my criticism I have with his products is
Yeah.
they might work for him,
Yeah.
but they aren't designed for everybody else.
Right.
Because think about it, we are all different, right? We are all different ages,
Yep.
right? So we need more of some things as we get older that we didn't need when we were younger because our body still produces it. We're different genders, right? So men, we need different things than women. Women need different things from men. We eat different foods. So our microbiomes are different, and then they will also break down those foods into the things that we need or not based on that. We have different genetics that cause us to either absorb or process those different. So we're all different. There is no one size fits all. And I think modern medicine is already starting to adopt that as well. It's individualized functional medicine, not that just one model that fits all.
Which really it's a way to, I think it's like the big open door to personalized medicine. Because it's
Absolutely.
your data, it's your tracking, it's your history. And then what I also think is genius, what you're doing is that you're not just using the one model, you're using all of them because they all act and source differently.
They do.
And they all respond differently. So you're not gonna get the same response from two of them ever. And so
Exactly.
can you speak about that? 'Cause
Yeah,
some people might
sure.
not understand that they're being modeled different.
Yeah, because they're all trained differently on different data sets. So they look at things from different perspectives. I learned this the hard way when I was doing my supplement protocol, because at one point I had one of the AIs was telling me that I'm just going to make up this example because I don't remember the particular, but one said I need 200 milligrams of this particular supplement. And the other one said, no, the dose that you need is 500 milligrams. And I'm like, well, all right, which one of you two is correct? So I took the response from AI A and gave it to AI B and said, look, this is what this one said, and vice versa, right? So they both saw what each other knew and said, which one of you is right? And it's really fun because it's kind of like if you've ever pitted a Democrat versus a Republican before, right? They see the exact same situation, but from two opposite extremes. And that's kind of what AI was doing. But in the case of an AI, it can actually admit, when it might not be completely correct, right? And so the fun thing about this particular supplement was that at 200 milligrams, you get a certain physiological benefit. But at 500 milligrams, you get a completely different but still positive physiological effect. So it depended on how the AIs were looking at it. They were both correct, but they were both thinking about different positive effects. So I'm like, wow, I learned something new because I didn't even know that was possible.
I agree. Any other questions? I think this is a conversation that could go on and on, but that was fantastic. Thank you so
Thank you.
much, Dave.
Thanks, everyone.